All right. Thank you, Rodney, for visiting, even though we fixed it right as soon as you got here, but we appreciate it. We'll call this meeting to order at 1:21 p.m. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Rodney, you're one.
I second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then we got last meetings, I don't know if they're minutes, maybe novel from Kathy. I skimmed over them and I thought it seemed okay. Can I get a approval or a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Rodney, you're the main man.
So I wanted to start the discussion on potentially putting in another disc golf course on the property that is on the north side of Ski Run Road, and that's on either the west and east side of the Monjo Road. I would like to consider putting in at least an 18-hole, if not a 27-hole course in that area. Just wanted to run it by the committee and see if they had any concerns with that type of use on the property. I did attach some pictures of mainly what the improvements are, just tee pads, baskets, and signage. Again, it's just a discussion at this point. Really hadn't considered, where the first hole would start, where the parking would be, restroom facilities or anything like that. But I just wanted to see if it would be an agreeable use of that property.
Have you hiked that little portion that sticks up, the most northern little section there? It's pretty steep.
You know what? I haven't hiked that.
So it might not be the size that you think that's like usable.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very steep area, that northern portion. I'm sure Dick's been up there and can concur, it's a pretty steep site.
Yeah, there is some steep area on there, but there's a lot of area that would be okay for a Frisbee golf course. I guess the main thing that I'd want is that we don't do anything would restrict access next time we have to go in and do some thinning and whatever. And the very west side of that, there's still some work that needs to be done as far as the thinning goes, particularly the resprouts and things right on the very east side. Most of the west side all the way to the ballparks has been treated within the last year and a half.
So, and then, we've got the apple orchard well there and the fault well, which you have to, there's going to be some areas that aren't fenced in that we'll want to keep people away from also. And so we can, maybe we can go out there sometime, Rodney, and I can kind of show you, they're already starting to construct it so you can see the footprint of the fault well. But I would agree there's quite a bit of open space that I think would lend itself to, disc golf, with the exception of that really steep area. And then the other location is it's a well that's not developed yet, but it's probably going to be developed within the next 5 years or so. That will have to be considerate of. That it will also have a large fenced-in pad and in my time playing disc golf, I have lost a disc in a municipal drinking water fenced in area. So it is pretty painful to have your disc behind a fence and you can see it.
Okay. Well, I'd definitely like to walk through. We can identify those areas. And then what I could do is mark all those on a map and then get a preliminary kind of rough layout of a course. And I think like the steepness of it is not entirely out of the question.
I guess my concern wasn't necessarily playability.
Yeah.
It's more just erosion and erosion issues.
And what we can do is work, if we're going to use that area, is require the design of those trails. That way they're built to not to contribute towards erosion or be more sustainable.
Yeah, Rodney, have you looked at that area enough to know, are you talking about going on the west side of the road that goes to Monjo, or staying on that east side?
You know, I think it's gonna have to use both.
And there's not a whole lot of, there's a lot of open areas on the east side of that. So I was just thinking, since that area's been thin, it's probably gonna not meet the same criteria that T-Bone would like to have with obstacles and things, because there's the spacing in there on the trees is pretty good.
Yeah.
And as far as the parking areas, when you identify parking areas, are those parking areas that are being built both at Grindstone and the one that will be built out there, are we looking at the ordinances to see that we're meeting all the ordinance requirements when we do that?
No, we're not.
So the recreation doesn't have to follow the ordinances?
No, you didn't ask that. You said if we were looking at the ordinances. I said, no, we're not. I didn't say.
Oh,
You know, that's not something that I first think about whenever I talk about, I know you do, I don't. And so I'm not saying that's right or wrong but it's just something that I didn't consider. Now, that's why we're here at the committee trying to do it the right way. And if that's something that we need to consider to the development of a parking lot in this area, then that's a recommendation from the committee.
If it's on the books and ordinance, it's the law, and we should be looking at it the same as where we make the private individual wants to build a parking lot. And for us to ignore what the ordinance says, I think is,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be doing that.
I agree with you. I think that's a good recommendation.
Do you know, is there like a standard, like, use?
I don't know the ordinance, but I'm sure that,
No, I'm just saying, is there like a standard occupancy rate for like disc golf courses?
you know, there could be. I'd have to refer to that, but it's really, and what we're seeing now is where you really are seeing your numbers increases whenever you're seeing tournament play, because there's just a lot more demand at one time than your typical just recreation play. Well, I can visit with the local tournament director. He's also the state tournament director, and get those, see if that organization they belong to can provide those numbers.
Eric,
Yeah,
can I say something?
yes.
Is that, are you trying to make like a championship course?
You know what? That I don't know. But we already have championship courses, so
On the mountain,
yeah, even
Grindstone?
even Grindstone is. And so, I mean, what we're trying to do is really emulate what we already have. Grindstone is probably the best all-around course that we have with signage, second tee pads, porta potties. But I think we want it to be in line with what those other courses offer, which again, it's not too much. The largest cost on the amenities is if you're gonna put a restroom facility and but none of, well, Moon Mountain has one. But what I would like to do is have a plan in place, if it's something that, you know, that, again, that meets the land use, and if it is, then I'd follow up with putting a cost proposal together, and then either be prepared for grants that come up, or maybe even make a application to lodger's tax.
So we'll have to watch out, because I know that a lot of people camp on that road on the Forest Service land. So hopefully, if we build a vault toilet, it doesn't get abused
Yeah.
by campers in that area. But I think it would be, and I've always been conflicted about having people around some of our utility assets. And I don't know if it's better to have people around there, so then it makes it, when there is issues, that it's noticeable, or if it's just better to not have people there. But I do know that we have had a lot of issues with homeless camps in that area, so I'm sure that this use would probably eliminate that.
Right along with that, you know, the Shell station right there, as the campers are coming down. The other day, I saw 3 campers pull in, and it looked like to me that they were dumping.
I could imagine it, especially if it's there. Hopefully they're not doing the black water, but yeah, I could imagine them dropping the gray water.
We don't have a dump station in that area, do we?
No, we don't.
Right.
I don't believe they do either, the Shell station.
It didn't look like they did.
Didn't you, wasn't that something that you were talking about, having a dump station, a public one, and it got kind of shut down, the process?
It's been mentioned a couple of times, but I think that probably if the village is serious, it just needs a little more research, because I mean, they have them lots of other places. And
I
I,
was just concerned because of the watershed.
No, definitely. Okay, so Rodney, do you need us to, I can go out with you and show you what's going on with our assets? I think everyone's okay with that, and now you're just gonna move on to the development review?
yes,
You have some more
I'll
details?
put together all that stuff, including I'll have to visit with Dick and the parking ordinance, and we'll have to look at it all together. Like I said, this is just what has been just a discussion, and before we moved on with any type of planning, I wanted to see what this committee had to say about it.
And maybe, as you're working on grants, maybe we can look at trying to do a kind of a collective project, because there is, because of the efforts to put the cemetery in there, there's, those roads and the way that those culverts were designed are not good, and it's causing erosion issues. So, as we look at that area, we probably need to address those anyways, and maybe we can incorporate it together.
Okay, that's a great idea. Matter of fact, there's a land and water conservation grant that's open now, the deadline of October, that actually you'll get more points for that type of restoration.
And, in Phillips Canyon, that's one of our areas that we were partnering with the Forest Service to do a cross-boundary project in that drainage with the Beaver Dam analogs and One Rock Check Dam. So there's a possibility to show, that we've gotten that grant and to build some synergy into that proposal. Okay. All right, Dick, you are the next with juniper spraying, ball field fire, and certification program.
Well, I think most everybody here has actually been to the ballpark fire, either looking at the seeds or whatever, but it's hard to tell about the trees, how many of them are going to come back or how many of them aren't. But from an erosion standpoint, the grass and weeds and things have come back under that pretty well. And so even though we had a little bit of runoff in 2 or 3 different areas out there, it seems to be healing pretty well. And so what we're probably going to do is try to determine which one of those trees are going to live or die, and then finish that project out there sometime within the near future. And I'm thinking that if we can't determine whether a tree is likely to live, we may just leave them and then have to go back in later to adjust later on, so we can get out of there. The other project that I was going to talk about is the seedling spraying at Grindstone. We just let a contract for 34.2 acres at Grindstone, and that'll be spraying the small junipers that are under 3 feet tall. And that there was a little bit of a delay in that finance hadn't rolled over the funds from last year, so that we couldn't access them. It hadn't been done yet. And so that project will start, but it's got to be done on days where we're not going to have rain, so the chemical will take effect. And so that should be started here within the next week or so. And the other thing is that I'm just going to, a point of information in, is that last year we rolled over a lot of the certifications from last year to this year, and we wound up with the kind of people ignoring what they're supposed to do. And so we have a pretty good sized number of uncertified that I think the number's down to about 700 now over the last 2 years that haven't been certified. And so we're fixed to go out with about 400 and plus letters here at the end of August. And our plan is, if we don't have certification or don't have starts on those certifications by October the 30th, then we're going to send a whole bunch of people to court. And so that's just a point of information. So that's really all I have on it.
Did we get those seeds out, Rodney?
Yes, we did. And I think when I had them do it, I was off. But I know they did get done. I don't recall the day.
Okay. All right. So the next section is the projects round robin. Dick, you kind of covered everything, so you're good. You got anything else? Okay. Rodney, anything else?
What? Nothing?
Lots of things. He's just trying to.
Oh, nothing watershed. Well, nothing I want to get in trouble by Dick by.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. No, I don't have anything.
Hey, Tim.
Hello.
So, for my projects round robin, be presenting our Wingfield Park preliminary design to council on Wednesday or on Monday for them to look at that. And then I know, Rodney, actually for your project, the paving out at the Eel Creek Sports Complex, I think that they've got the surveys done. So Chris has been working quite a bit on the recent flood event and helping us with some other designs. So, but I do know he's moving forward with that. And then just a bunch of stuff with the flood, I guess. Working on some of the mitigation and trying to make sure that we're restoring stuff in a beneficial way for the river, but still protecting our assets. So, Tim, you just came in for the last section of our meeting. It's just our round robin where the members can just chat about any types of projects that they're working on or want to give any updates on for watershed related projects. So if you have anything to add, we kind of covered all the basics. Okay. No comment from Tim.
I think from my perspective, Eric, I had a conversation with you this morning. And, Counselor, my conversation was related to Greenfield Park and Apple Orchard and whatnot. There was a discussion in the council, should we hold off or whatever. In my opinion, my direction to Eric is that we need to push those projects forward and not worry so much about when it's gonna be funded or how or whatnot. There's so much federal money coming down in different directions right now that, if we can't, fund it through a grant coming in, or we don't have enough environmental GRT to fund some of these projects, there's gonna be other opportunities. For instance, if we got money to fund one project, it would be very easy for us to take money from the recovery that we, basically wash through general fund and fund these other projects.
Yep.
Right now, I'm not concerned with how we're gonna fund things. I'm more concerned with getting projects designed and move forward. So, that's what I'd like to see is more project shovel ready than less project shovel ready. So the plan and design part, I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get these projects ready for
Sure.
these grant dollars as they start flowing through. So that's kind of my position, and that's what I'm going to express on Monday when we start to look at it.
I like that.
Oh, I've been, in our previous discussions talking about shovel-ready projects, I've got a lot of projects in the works right now, but I really don't have a lot that are even close to design, being done for design. So hopefully we can start having more shovel-ready projects to take advantage of unique opportunities. Okay.
And if it doesn't, and even if the grant funds coming down don't meet that specific purpose, if we do find projects that we're planning to fund with some other means, and we could fund that, then it's easy for us to take general fund dollars to fund the projects that grants don't come down for. So I think we just need to push forward and get everything, designed and planned as well as possible, with even like the forestry projects, and, put in for more than what you usually do. Because there's gonna be more money out there. All these federal programs are gonna be looking to try to figure out how to spend the money.
So we'll start having Rodney working on random grants for the police department or other things, and he'll say, hey, you got to give me money now for parks.
Well, that's what was happening, just cleaning up the property and they did a little lynching for their eco-servants, and they really cleaned up the property nice, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Good
that's
idea.
actually where I was at, just now, I was at the.
Who's running that project? I guess the reason I'm asking is because when I drove by a while ago, it doesn't quite meet the ordinance standards, so we might want to take a look at it and do some more, or at least get it to meeting the standard.
I think they're really focused on just the area around it and trying to cut as much of the overgrowth as possible. So you had Chief Chavez and Chief Hill actually out there helping move branches and cut trees. And so
They had a pretty good pile.
they had about 40 people out there, officers, and they used it as a team building exercise with PD, and they had dispatchers and officers out there cleaning up. And then they called me over for the burgers, what I'm good at. I'm not talking about cooking.
All right, so with that, so September 2nd, is that actually would that be? Yeah, I'm sorry. So yes. I'm so out of it that I'm sitting here thinking like it's the Monday, and I'm like, well, it's gonna be Labor Day, but I don't even know what day it is anymore. Okay, so our next meeting will be September 2nd. I'll send out a Zoom link, but again, we'll have it in person here for those who are able to attend. If there's anything else, anyone else has? All right,
I just, I don't know if anybody's gone to White Mountain Complex, today, but there's so much water that the ducks are swimming around. And, I mean, that's how I remember it. I mean, you never could see the water because there was so much cattails, but I don't know, it just kind of reminded me of how I grew up here.
sure.
Well, you know, when I drove by, I thought the same thing, and what I thought was, I don't understand why the schools won't work with us to create a wetlands there, when it is a wetlands, I mean, look at it.
It's a whole bog.
Yeah, and then I think you gotta look at it from their perspective, Rodney,
Yeah.
as to saying, you know, that they have needs for facilities and stuff like that. It's just a different mindset, and as we look at how we work on that whole master plan, then, you know, maybe as we can see what their plan and long-range plans are, is how can we help them accomplish that? And then that opens up the conversation on how we can, you know, look at these other properties as well. But, you know, it's just like with me, you know, if I had a farm and I was putting aside a section to grow marijuana, and somebody else said, no, let's put a pond there.
No, we call it a pond.
No, that's my marijuana patch.
Anything else, Susan?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
I like that.
Sorry.
Get ready, shovel ready.
Yeah. We gotta get things moving. It was funny, I was just on a conversation with.
No, I at
This
least,
court building, I was explaining finances to him,
archery shoots,
because he's a manager, but then now.
in the parking lot's
He goes,
down here with
"Wow,
the
I didn't even
bathroom.
understand it
There are
over,
people
but
that park
today."
over here, I've almost been
So
shot
I told
twice.
him,
What?
every